everyone. My name's Jeff. You probably know me from having a camera in your face and asking you for a photo. I can tell by those chuckles, I know a lot of you. So I wrestled with sharing my testimony because my personal belief is that at church, all attention and glory should be to God. And I also dislike attention, hence why I prefer being behind the camera. But I prayed about sharing my testimony, and I feel that God would approve of me sharing this with y'all with the following in mind. I share this testimony because I want all the glory to go to God. Wednesday, January 8th was a normal busy day for me, but I was driving to work in pain. My right ankle had been bothering me for a couple weeks, and I was wondering how I was going to get through not just the day, but my workout class later that evening. And while I struggled to walk the entire day, I decided to get comfortable with the pain. I had chosen not to pray it away because I've always had this thinking that problems like these are too small for God to be bothered with. Thus, in my usual practice, I soldiered on. I got to prayer at night that evening in some excruciating pain, but even then, still pushed on. And when the time came when Pastor Taylor called for those struggling with bodily pain to raise their hands, I wanted to raise mine, but I felt conviction. Conviction in the form of thinking, how could I justify asking for healing on something so small? And if we're being honest, something I probably caused with the luxury of personal training. Reluctantly, I ended up raising my hand. And as the entire Trinity community wonderfully prayed over me for healing, I resented myself. I spent the entire moment asking God for forgiveness, scorning myself for wasting precious prayer on something as trivial as the pain in my right ankle. I thought my pain was not worthy and not worth the trouble in comparison to others' pain. Suddenly, when the prayer was over, that excruciating pain in my right ankle was gone. I mean, gone. Like, non-existent. Like I had dreamt it or made it up. At one point, I tried slamming my right foot several times just to bring that pain back. But at that moment, I knew God had healed me, and I was floored. I was scared. I was terrified of one truth that was blatantly told to me in that moment. God's love and divinity is almighty. I'm sharing this miracle with y'all because I promised God that I would only share it to help remind you of two things. No problem you have is either too small or unworthy of God's attention. And God calls us to put our faith in Him and be a representation of His love in this world. Before my miracle, I did not believe that God should trouble Himself with my little problem, but He did. God did so because that's the divinity and expansiveness of His love. Your problems are not too small for God, and you are worthy of His help no matter what. If you ever doubt this, remember the divinity of God's love and how inclusive it is. God took me to school that evening, reminding me of a lesson that the power of His love knows no bounds. If I'm going to be a true Christian man, a true follower of God, I must strive to lean into Him no matter what and be a representation of His love. I pray that you strive to be a representation of His love too. Love not only for those that it's comfortable for you to love, but those who, just like my right ankle, are uncomfortable to love. God calls us to be faithful and to love.